Good morning. Welcome to the Community Review on Hot 92.3. I'm Josefa Salinas, your host. Well, if you saw me recently on American Latino TV and you watched the whole show, before I came on, somebody else was on that show. They did a beautiful piece on my wonderful friend sitting here, Esai Morales. Good morning.
Hi, Josefa. How are you?
I am fabulous. How are you, hermano?
I'm very happy to be here talking to you and all your listeners and talking about something that I believe in.
Yeah, you got a good reason to be. There's an incredible new movie out. I've heard so many good responses on it. People are talking about this movie across the country and around the world. They're blogging about it around the world. Gun Hill Road, just now hitting the box offices, and just incredible things are being said about the content, the mood, the feeling, the subject matter that this movie brings out. Let's talk a little bit about it. It's the movie information. It says after 3 years in prison, Enrique, yourself, Esai Morales, returns home to the Bronx to find the world he knew has changed. His wife, Angela, who's Judy Reyes, struggles to hide an emotional affair, and his teenage son, Michael, Harmony Santana, explores a sexual transformation well beyond Enrique's grasp and understanding. Unable to accept his child, Enrique clings to his masculine ideals, while Angela attempts to hold the family together by protecting Michael.
There you go. Now I don't have to see it.
No, but I mean, this right here opens up such a conversation about, oh my gosh, so many things that are happening now, whether it's the subject of sexuality or political preference or, I mean, just all kinds of things that are happening in families and in America today. What made you come across this script and say, this is my script?
Well, I didn't have to come across, it came across me in a sense. Mm-hmm. I'm co-founder along with Jimmy Smith, Sonia Braga, and Felix Sanchez of the National Hispanic Foundation for the Arts, where we raise money for students who apply to give them scholarships, to help them with their thesis, and more importantly, to give them connectivity, access, because it's not just what you know, it's who you know as well.
Of course.
And this town is very nepotistic, not just familiar-wise, but, if you've had a friend that you've worked with before, it's better to work with a familiar devil than an angel you don't know. And
that's so true.
That's a prevailing attitude out here. So a lot of people from our community don't have as much access and are rather shy and don't want to be overbearing. And so we provided that. And Rashad Ernesto Green, the writer-director of Gun Hill Road, is a 3-time recipient of our scholarship. And during one of the galas, he came up to me and said, listen, I'm working on the script. It's almost ready. It's inspired by a real family situation. And I wrote it with you in mind. And I thought,
oh, wow.
Well, I've got to take a look at this.
Right.
Well, okay, let's see. What do you got here? And, interestingly enough, he went through the proper channels, not just, exploiting our friendship to get me a script, submitted it to the agencies and management, and it came down the pike. And I said, whoa, I know this story. And I took a look at it and I couldn't put it down. And I was like, wow, a story about people, human beings. You see less and less of that today. Mm-hmm. Everything's a superhero. Everyone's cartoonified or transformified or, computer-generated apes going, wild or contagious diseases. Everything seems to be attacking the human race from the outside. But this film deals with the threats from within our own family, and the power of intolerance to kind of smother people. And I read this character, and he's not a bad guy, but he does pretty bad things in his quest to fix his son, who may not be broken. There's this interesting word in the Latino community called joto, and that to me sounds like roto, like you're broken. There's something wrong with you. And I think we've come to a part in our society, in our civilization, where we can finally let go of our, childish attitudes towards alternative sexuality or lifestyles. The fact is, people don't do these things lightly.
Right.
A 3-year-old doesn't look in the mirror and say, Mommy, I see a girl, lightly, or because it's something they were taught. This is genetic. This is something that's been around us since the beginning of time. I'm not promoting, deviancy at all. No, I'm promoting compassion. This film, really, it's not about me. It's about the message that this film can leave you with without preaching to you. It just shows you what happens when a father can't wrap his head around the emerging sexuality of his only child, his only son at that, and how he feels attacked He was in jail 3.5 years. A lot can happen not only in jail, but in your own family while you're gone.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes to a rude awakening. It's not just an emotional affair that she's having, by the way. The fact that there are emotions involved complicated even more. So when I get out of jail, I got to get a job. I've got to, stay out of trouble. I've got to, literally, there's a laundry list of things that I've got to do or else I go back. So
Right.
the mission is, be right by your family, be right by society. And then when I get home, my family and society isn't right by me. And so all of a sudden, his manhood is under attack, from his new employer, the disrespect he gets over there, from his neighborhood friends who are telling him about some affair that his wife is having with some guy they want to beat up now, to his only son, wanting not only to, not play baseball anymore, but basically give up the equipment he was born with. That is like mind-blowing, especially to more narrow-minded macho guys from the hood
Mm-hmm.
who are not given the room socially or societally to embrace their own different children. So I think a film like this really can just show you things that you haven't seen before. Again, it's an authentic, real Boogie Down Bronx production without an Anglo filter. Go figure.
Wow.
Isn't that insulting to our white brothers and sisters out there that Hollywood doesn't make movies about communities outside of them without some Anglo saying, okay, this is how you should interpret this movie? Well, guess what? We Latinos go see movies that are not about us. We see black films without a Latino in there kind of, interpreting everything for us. We see white films without any problem. But why is it that folks from the all-American community can't, or not given the credit to be able to understand a film without one of their characters in it?
Mm-hmm.
It's called the vanilla filter. And, I don't mean to bring race in a divisive way. I bring up race in a way that goes, hey, don't forget about us. We're part of your family. And actually, we have a lot to contribute.
Mm-hmm.
And we may not speak English the way, upper crust society folk do, but we have a lot of heart in our community and we'll have your back. And this is a kind of film that says, wow, let's take a trip to the Bronx. Let's see how this family deals with these issues.
And I would think that, just from personal experience, knowing some friends back in the Midwest who went through something similar with a father. He didn't go off to jail. He just realized that his son might be having issues about his sexuality and wondering and perhaps, making the choice or coming into the realization that he might be gay. And the father, being very, very macho, is very upset by this. He's an auto worker and, very macho, drinks beer with the guys on the weekend. He goes hunting and fishing. This is very disturbing for him. So
let me ask you a question. When he drinks tea, does his pinky come out? No, right? That's a man.
Right.
Yeah, that's a real man.
Right. But it makes you realize that these are some issues that really need to be talked about.
Yeah, but our community doesn't like to talk about it.
Why? Why do you think that is?
Vergüenza.
Because you know what? We weren't talking about, the man I was just talking about was not a Latino man in the Midwest.
Oh, okay.
So I think this is a real male issue.
It is a male issue, but I think it's exacerbated in our community because our community is so identified with that which is macho. So it is a male issue, but in this film, it's a male issue through, a Latino filter, a Latino lens, to be more precise. And Latinos are, where the word macho comes from. So, ¿quién es más macho? It's something that we've kind of identified with so much, but every other culture has its man's men out there to say, hey, we're not poofters, as the English say. And I thought we got to a point where we can accept people for who they are. If I have a child and I just became a dad, I'd ask my gal, what do you do if our son is gay? When I thought we were having a son. I don't know, take him shopping. And I thought that was a nice, lighthearted attitude because the reality is you can't slap sexuality in or out of somebody. Mm-hmm. This is something that develops inside of them, and it's not your fault. It's just like if your child has a cleft palate or is born with a deformity, it's not necessarily your fault, but you will feel responsible to help that child.
Right.
Well, that's how my character feels. Not that it's not his fault, but that he's responsible to fix him. So he does things in less than artful ways with all the best intentions, but boy, does he get it wrong. And, you know, I find the genius of this film is that there are a couple of scenes that will make the average straight guy a little uncomfortable, like I was. I'm watching, you know, Harmony, you know, lose her virginity, let's just say. And I'm like, wow, this is a little like, But it forces me to wonder, what's wrong? It's not graphic. It's not gratuitous. What's my problem with it? Why are straight guys kind of offended when they see two men kissing? You know, not that that's what I want to promote, but it shouldn't bug me out unless they were trying to kiss me without my...
And you didn't want to be kissed.
Exactly. You know, so it's just interesting how we are conditioned to behave and to react to people's sexuality, especially people's sexuality that have nothing to do with you. I remember growing up in the late 60s, early 70s, thinking that the world was going to be so much better by the year 2000.
Oh, yeah.
That, wow, at the rate we're evolving as people, that, man, this is going to be a piece of cake in the future. And it's just not. And it feels like we're being kind of kept back, held back emotionally by the things that we watch on TV and the things that we eat, the things we consume or allow ourselves to consume, keep us kind of dulled out. So a film like Gun Hill Road to me is a gem because it deals with the human condition from a different perspective, from a perspective we don't see enough of, which is our Latino community.
Where's it playing locally?
You know, it's going to be in Palm Desert. We're going to open up at the Palm d'Or Theater. We are basically going wider on the 16th of September. We're going to go to major cities like Chicago, Boston, Miami, and others, and to find our audience. And this is why it's important that your show and others talk about this. Talk about, you know, things that are not the usual, you know, distraction, but actual action, actual acting. You know, there's no special effects in this movie. You won't see, you know, airplanes blowing up, you know, buildings and computerized monkeys attacking the world. This is not a movie to make you afraid of things. It's a movie that will enhance, I believe, your capacity to love.
Now, as a man in this film, you come home from being 3 years away at prison, and when you first walk in and find this change, this huge, massive change that's happened in your family, what are the first emotions that you went through?
Well, it's interesting because, you know, my character is going home. He's walking home from the train station with his bag, his, you know, prison issue.
Which is a reality.
Yep, there's that bag. Everybody knows who's ever come out the joint, you got all your possessions in that bag.
In one little bag.
And he's walking through the streets, and of course, before he makes it home, his homies catch a glimpse of him. They're like, yo, look what the cat dragged in. Next thing you know, his buddies suck him into the corner, like rap and, you know, talking. He's trying to get home, but they're like, nah, this is your family, come on. So he's late for his own homecoming. So he gets there, it's like the party's over, basically, and mom is always happy to see him, and she makes a speech about, oh, thank God, but we have to go now. And then I see my son. I didn't recognize him. And she goes, I look at him, and my God, all I see is this beautiful boy grown, like probably 2 feet since the last time I saw him. And I can't believe, all I see is a beautiful face. And I go, wow, I'm overjoyed. I'm like, oh, look at you, must be hitting him out the park now. Thinking, you know, oh, you must be an amazing athlete. Little does he know. And the clue on that is his little less than masculine friend coming around, played wonderfully by Robin De Jesus. Hello, Mr. Rodriguez, nice to meet you. And you could see my character going, hi, but focusing back on his kid. It's a sort of denial.
Right. Like, you just must be somebody he's being nice to.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, nice to meet you. Anyway, back to my kid. Wow, look at you. And it's just like, so happy. Wow. But later on, when his friend says he's been cut in class with his, you know, less than masculine friends, I have to deal with this. And I'm like, I go to my wife, where were you? Where were you while all this was happening? She goes, yeah, I was working, I'm living, where were you? Meaning I was in prison.
Well, I think one of the beautiful things about Gun Hill Road is that it's not just a movie about the issues of sexuality and a father's not being able to understand that, but it truly is a movie about especially the Latino male and the role that we've all got for him, and how this man has to transform himself to come out of that box of being the macho man if he ever wants to have a relationship with his son, to get outside of that box and find another side of him.
Well, I agree with you.
Now, before you get out of here, the men in your life,
Yes.
your friends, relatives, how did they look at this movie, and what conversations have you had with them about this?
That's really interesting. I haven't had any conversations with my own father, who's a fundamental Christian, actually takes the fun out of fundamentalism. You know, I don't know if he could sit through this film. It's one of those, he's got religion so much a part of his life that it really, it makes him incapable of experiencing other aspects because he thinks he's being disloyal to God. And you see, and that's a huge problem within our community. Anything that's different than what was bashed into our brains as kids is considered of the devil, of the world, just garbage. I can't tell you how wrong that is. That mentality is wrong. So the men in my life, I'd have to do a study. You know, I have a brother, a half-brother, who I think may have a child going through this issue. You think he mentioned anything? No. He visited me when I was signing autographs at a theater in the Bronx, checked everything out, made a few snide comments, and, you know, then try to make up for it and support. But at the end of the day, not one mention of how this might actually be something he should see or take his child to see. So it's a tough thing. We don't like talking about it. We don't even want to admit it. I have another family member, an aunt, that I remember. Everyone talk about, oh, she's so tough. It took 5 police officers to get her off these guys that she was fighting with. I mean, 5 men to restrain her. This is a woman who runs in the closet at the sound of thunder, but will beat the living daylights
out of a man
or anybody who messes with her because she's just fearless in that way. But she has her fears. You think anyone in our family is, talks about that issue or gayness at all? No. It's just not mentioned as if it doesn't exist. And that to me is convenient for the moment, but it sets people up to be victimized later. It's a shame thing. And if people realize that there's nothing, you don't decide to be gay, you don't choose it. It's not, okay, what am I going to be today?
I'm not going to be gay.
Yeah, I think I want to mess with my same sex. That's just, I can't see that as something taken lightly. So if you're going to go that way and you're going to be open about it, I think you're a much braver person than those who hide in the norm. So I have respect for honest people, for openly, alternative lifestyle folks. I respect it. But you got to leave yourself open for what you don't know.
So then you haven't had a lot of discussion with the men in your family about this?
No, I've had friends that say, this is really important. They've seen it and they were like subdued. I don't want to overhype the film either. I don't want to say, hey, this is the next coming of, this is the next Gone with the Wind. This is going to change the world. I don't want to overemphasize people's expectations. And then when they see it, well, it's just a movie. But it's a movie that works on you on subliminal layers and it doesn't tell you what to feel. It allows you to experience what this family experiences. And it allows you to see the tragedy of it all, as well as the comedy. There's some funny, lighthearted moments as well.
Well, Esai, congratulations on an incredible film, Gun Hill Road. Can we hope that it will be out on DVD eventually? So that, 'cause I have a feeling this is one of those films that some people aren't going to be comfortable going to see at the movie, but they will buy it and watch it at home.
I think so too, but I got to ask people.
Oh, please go support it now.
Go to see it in the theaters, and if it's not playing near you, call your theater and say, why isn't it playing? Because we have to build a demand.
Yes.
If the demand's not there, they're not going to give us budgets to make movies again. It's going to be a bad business opportunity.
So we can do this then. See, I didn't know that. We could call a theater and say, do we call like the corporate office of the theater or the theater itself?
Call the theater. Call the manager. Say, hey, you guys playing this? Why not? We'd like to see it. If they get enough calls like that, believe me, the tone will change because people anticipate. They go, nobody wants to see a movie about that, or there's only so many people in our community that are that. As if we don't see movies about anything except whatever we're going through at that moment. That's BS. The reality is it's a beautiful film. It's a classy film. It's not a corny ghetto gangster chronicle type of thing. And it will take you somewhere you've not been.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking us there.
Yeah, baby.
Again, the film is Gun Hill Road. You can go to my webpage at hot923.com, keyword Josefa. I will have the trailer there as well as information about where you can see this film.
Gunhillroad.com.
Gunhillroad.com, where you'll get lots of information about it. And also, if you're a Facebook friend of mine, you can go there and see the trailer as well. And we will definitely have you back.
Oh, thank you,
It was
Josefa.
such a pleasure to have you here today.
Josefa. What a beautiful name, eh?
Named after my grandmother. People always say, you're brilliant to make up the name up for radio. I say, who could make up a name like that?
That's what
That's
me.
one of those names like you get passed. That's your grandmother's name or your great grandmother's name, and that's exactly how it got passed down.
Yeah, well, the thing is that people thought Esai Morales, is that a stage name? I go, who would name themselves Esai Morales
right.
too?
Well, thank you for being here. Gun Hill Road is the movie. Please go support it. And if it's not playing around you, let's get 10 of your friends together, 20 of your friends, 30 of your friends, and everybody call the movie theater and ask for it. And let's see if we can't get something going and get this movie in widespread release everywhere.
Thank you, honey.
An amazing movie. Again, if you'd like more information on it, you can go to my webpage or gunhillroad.com. Stay close. There's more coming up on the Community Review Hot 92.3.